Hi, I'm Steve Casely from CBT Nuggets, and this nugget focuses on the business case. This nugget is the first of 8, focused on the 8 themes of Prince 2, and the first of these themes is the business case. And this nugget on the business case, again, the first of 8 themes in Prince 2, may seem like a bit of a repetition because we've talked about the business case a lot already in this nugget series. The business case came up when we were talking about the Prince 2 principles. The business case was reviewed a lot during our processes because the business case appears throughout the processes. But we're going to talk about the business case again in terms of themes because the business case is one of those underlying themes of Prince 2. The business case kickstarts the project. The business case actually predates the project, or it should predate the project. The business case is that documentation, again, Steve's term, not a Prince 2 term, documents the eureka moment, probably at an outline level, probably at a very high level, but the business case predates the project because it outlines that eureka moment. It defines what it is that the business wants, and it is used to start the project. The business case is going to be presented to business senior management by the business manager to say, this is what I need done. This is my pain point. This is the business challenge that I'm having. And I believe if we start a project, this pain point, this challenge can go away and the project can be more successful. So with that, we get approval to start the project. We will go in and we will do project initiation. Working with the business, we will we will flesh out the business case. We will provide more detail and we will come up with a full justification for the project, defining exactly what it is that the business wants, and we will do the cost benefit statement for the project. And with that, the project gets formally approved. And as we've discussed already in this Nugget series, the business case is revalidated at the end of every stage. So at the end of every stage, we will dust off the business case. We will review and validate that the business case still makes sense, that the cost justification still makes sense, that the reason for the pain point for the project still exists, and it makes sense to continue to invest corporate dollars into the project. And I can't overstate enough that the business case is owned by the business. It's not the project managers, it's not the team's responsibility to keep the business case current. It is the business owners, it's the project acceptors' responsibility to keep the business case fresh and to keep the business case justified. And just to re-stress what I just said, the business case ownership must be owned by the business, and typically the business case ownership will go all the way up to the business executive. The business executive has to be the sponsor. The business executive has to take the business case to the organizational senior management to obtain approval to spend the project dollars on the project. This is not the middle level manager. This is not necessarily that person with the true business pain. There has to be a selling of that middle manager with the business pain up their food chain to their senior manager. The senior manager has to do the buy-in, say, yes, this project makes a lot of sense. You produce a business case, and I will take it forward to senior management and get it approved, and I will help you help us solve these business problems. To that point, the business executive has to be the sponsor, has to take it forward for senior management, but as just discussed, there may be a lot of support required for that business case from line management and from other members of their business line of business or their business department. And the project team are the people that are assigned to the project, which means they're the people with the time to spend on the project. And why am I calling that forward? Because the business executive doesn't have a lot of time. The business executive has a full day job and probably a full part evening job. The other business members, including our project sponsor and project acceptor, also have day jobs and are typically never 100% assigned to the project, where the project team is often assigned 100% to the project. So therefore the project team has time to spend on all project activities, and therefore the project team is often called on to significantly assist, and I'm going to say significantly assist, in the development of the business case, both in terms of the need statement and of the benefit statement. So recognizing that the project team, and again, the assumption is this is an IT project team, recognizing that the IT project team, the propeller heads, the developers, are going to help write this business case, therein could be a significant problem, because the IT team doesn't truly understand the business requirements. Now, it's not all propeller heads. It's not all developers on the team. I know I'm going to have some analysts, and I know my analysts are very good in in business speak, in understanding business conditions. But there's obviously a challenge, a problem, or a potential pitfall when the project team is writing the need statement, because the project team are not the business SMEs. So if the project team is assigned to work on the business case, we need to make sure that the project team is continually going back to the business to do that revalidation. Is what I've written correct? Have I represented this correctly? Because if we're not doing that continual touchback to the business, there is a possibility that the business case isn't going to be as complete and as comprehensive as possible. So what is in a business case? Well, we're going to actually review all of the significant Prince2 deliverables later in this Nugget series. So I'm not going to get into an actual table of contents review of the business case in this Nugget, recognizing again that we'll get into the table of contents and an actual template for a business case later in the series. But philosophically, I will review what is in a business case, or why we produce business case. And the key statement is, again, no surprise, it provides the structure, the direction for the project. It defines the needs for the project. And it provides that by thoroughly defining the business requirements. It validates the project need. Why do we need this project? We need this project because it eliminates inventory costs. We need this project because it provides better customer service. We need this project, da-da. So when we're saying it validates the business need, first we defined the business need, we defined the business requirement, and now we're telling the bosses why we need this project, because it's going to reduce our inventory costs. It's going to provide better customer service. It's going to allow us to deliver a new product or service that we have never delivered before in our industry. And it's going to initiate, and again, recognizing that the business case is going to be an evolving document, we start the business case during initiation, we provide a lot more detail during planning, and we revalidate the business case at the end of every stage. We're initiating, or we're going to have the ongoing viability assessment. Is this cost justifiable, basically? Based on these benefits, based on the anticipated cost of $50,000, does this project make sense? And we also need to validate the achievability. It's wonderful to say that for $50,000 a project, we're going to deliver a $30,000 annual payback, so that basically in year 1.4, It's going to pay back. What a wonderful project. This is the best investment our organization could ever take on. Of course, we're going to do this project based on this kind of a cost benefit statement. This is a slam dunk. No one would ever doubt the needs, the reason, the viability of investing in this particular project. But is it real? Can we do it? In order to complete this project at $50,000, we need to have new technology. Or this project is exploring R&D. We're trying to develop a new product. We think we have a vision, but we just don't know. So this is the true, realistic possibility of success. Can we do it? Been there, done that, using existing technology, using existing programming languages. Yes, we can do this. Or, boy, this would be really a lot of fun. This would be an exciting project. I think we can do it. Yeah, well, and that's what we're up to here, is we're initiating the understanding of how realistic is it that the project can do this. And this needs to be a realistic. This is not a, boy, wouldn't this be fun? This would be exciting. This is, can we do it? Something to keep in mind as we're working on our business case is this concept of the business case focus. Not necessarily chapters, and I would actually go as far as to say not chapters in the business case per se, but things that we need to focus on as we're producing the business case. What is the output of the project? What does the project produce? This is going to be the tangible results from the project, and as a result of the output, we're going to have an outcome. And the outcome is what changes. How does the business benefit? And once we understand what the outcome is, what changes, how the business benefits, that's going to help us truly document the benefits. And this is the tangible benefits of the project. So again, often when we're producing our business case, we get so caught up into the output. This is what we're going to produce. We had the business requirements. As a result of the business requirements, we're going to write a new system, new code, and we're going to write a new inventory management system. And we get so caught up because we're IT people. We want to write code. That's the reason we exist, is to generate systems, that we get so focused on the business requirements and the production of the code required to do that, that we forget why we're doing it. We're not in this project for the purpose of writing new code. We're in the business of working on this project so that we can achieve the business outcome, so that the business can change how they work, so that the business itself can result in improvements, and those improvements will directly drive the benefits. And again, this is just trying to step back a little bit, and this is especially relevant if we're going to have the project people working on the business case, that we don't get so focused purely on the output that we lose sight of the justification, the realization why it is we actually did take on this project to begin with. Another key consideration as we're writing the business case is what's the reasoning behind, what's the type of, what's the motivation for initiating the project, for writing the business case. And I would expect in the majority of instances it's going to be of a compulsory type project. It is either absolutely 100% mandatory, i.e. there's been a government legislation change, that we must be able to follow specific rules and regs. I.e., we do this project, we support the style of reporting by the government, or we stop doing business, or it's an audit requirement. The internal or external auditors have come in and said that our inventory management system is inadequate. We aren't going to pass our next audit. Therefore, it's 100% mandatory that we must do this to satisfy rules and regulations. And in a lot of instances where people focus on these compulsory type projects, they don't spend a lot of time on the business case. They simply say, government said, audit said, we have to do this, so we're going to do it. Why waste our time doing a business case? Why bother trying to come up with this fictitious cost-benefit justification? We have to do it or we close our doors. Well, that's a bit of a true statement, but there's a lot of value in the business case over and above the true cost-benefit justification. The business case is going to define the need. It's going to define the requirements. It's going to define the output, the benefit, and knowing what the output and the benefit is going to help us scope, define the work that the team's going to do on the project. So simply because it's a compulsory project, don't get into the mindset of, I don't need to do a business case because it's going to be approved. Yes, it's going to be approved, but we still need to understand that critical statement of what the output is, what the outcome is going to be, and what the benefit statement is going to be so that we can better craft the project. Because the business case is more than just getting senior management's buy-in for spending the money. The benefits or the business case also creates why it is we're going to take on the project and what the nature and orientation and purpose for the project is going to be. So don't get caught in the fact that, this is compulsory, I don't care. We should still care. Another type of project that often doesn't get a lot of attention for a business case are these not-for-profit, I'm going to say charity work. Your organization has decided to sponsor a significant charity in your organization or in your business community or in your community at large, and therefore we need to take on a project. And this may not be a true IT project. This may be simply trying to clean up a playing field or creating a playground for children to play in. Do we need a business case for that? Again, yes. Why would people say we don't need a business case? Well, this is a charity event. My management has said we're going to do this for the good of the community. Therefore, we're not looking for cost-benefit justification. There is no cost-benefit justification beyond goodwill, and we certainly can't put a dollar sign on goodwill. So why bother with a business case? There is no cost-benefit. True, but the same thing applies. What is the scope? What is the intent? What is the purpose for the project? And although there is no cost benefit, there certainly probably is a cost ceiling. So if we're building a playground for the community children, senior management probably has put a figure aside. We don't want to spend more than $50,000. We don't want to spend more than $100,000 or whatever the number is going to be to generate this playground. There's a limit to how much we're going to spend on goodwill, or I would expect there's a limit on how much the company wants to spend on goodwill. So there's going to be a cost ceiling, even if there is no benefit statement. There's going to be a cost ceiling, and we still need to understand what the needs, what the requirements, what the outcome, what the benefits are going to be so that we can craft the project appropriately. Now, this next one, evolving requirements, is the Prince 2 term. Steve really thinks of this as an R&D type project that we've talked about a couple of times already, specifically in the areas of risk management. These are exploratory. And as we said already when we were discussing risk management, we don't need to do a lot of risk management on these evolving requirements, R&D, exploratory type projects, because sometimes the risk event is where we actually come up with the project breakthrough. So if we proactively remove all of the issues and challenges, we may be proactively removing our chance for project success. So again, if these are evolving, if we're going to change as we go, why do we need a business case? Same thing. We need to set the foundation. What is our objective? How are we going to achieve this? Why do we need to do this? And so on and so on and so on. So doesn't matter. Even if we're true R&D, we're trying to create a new product, a new service, something that not only our organization has never done before, but our industry has never done before. It's going to be pure exploratory, and we're going to start, and we're going to follow this path, and then we're going to, oh, that didn't work, and then we're going to take this squiggly path, and then we're going to, yes, that's the nature of the project, but we still need to set the foundation. We need to have the objective. We still need to understand what the basic needs and requirements are. And when we vary for those, we still need to take that back to senior management to say, we just took a step in this very odd direction. Is this consistent with the type of product service our organization would even want to deliver? And on. And again, the same applies. There's probably a cost ceiling. Management isn't willing to invest $15 billion in this evolving requirements exploratory project, but they're probably willing to invest $50,000. Next is an external project where the external project is developed specifically to support suppliers or maybe customers. So we're going to provide an electronic interface to allow us to directly access our supplier's order system and enter orders automatically. Or we're going to allow our customers to directly use a web interface to come in and create orders, to do customer service, to inquire on shipping information or whatever the case is going to be. In these external projects, one could say again, there's not a lot of reason for the business case because the whole scope, the focus is going to be controlled by our suppliers, by our customers. It's not our business management that's going to define the project. It's going to be the requirements of the suppliers and the customers. And the answer is, again, yes, but, and it's yes, the true requirements and the true scope is going to come from what our suppliers and customers want. But again, there's going to be restrictions. We're not going to spend $15 billion developing a new wonderful supplier system or a new wonderful customer system. And the scope of the project is going to have to be constrained so that we're not going to let the customers go in and change pricing information, to take this to an extreme. So again, we need to set the foundation. We need to define the objectives for the project. We need to set the ceilings so most of the conditions of a business case applies. And the same comes for a multi-organizational. Whether it's a supplier, whether it's customer, whether it's multi-branches of our same organization, one could say, well, we don't have a lot of control and support over that project. True, but we still need to have the basic fundamental understanding of the type and style and nature of this project to keep it under effective control. And next, we need to do some serious thinking about what the best option is for developing, for satisfying, for supporting this business challenge. And sometimes the best option is simply to do nothing. Well, Steve, how does that make sense? The business has a challenge. The business has this eureka moment. The business thinks if we come up with new software, we're going to satisfy, we're going to remove their pain, their challenge. Why would we do nothing? Simply because doing nothing may make the most business sense. Or doing nothing means we don't write code, we change processes. Writing code, automation, is not always the right answer. In today's era, there is a lot of reasons why good, effective IT solutions work, but sometimes it's not always the right answer. Just because we have coding pencils and can write code doesn't mean that's always the right answer. Like the proverb of saying, when you have a hammer, everything's a nail, and we start beating on it. When we have coding pencils, writing code is not always the right answer. Sometimes the right answer is not to write code. Sometimes the right answer is to do some code and to do exactly what it is that the business asked us to do. And sometimes the right answer is due to the absolute minimum. The business came to us and said, we need a new inventory management system. Our inventory management system is not satisfying our current requirements. We need. We do the business case, we do the justification, and sometimes it's not a new system. It's a tiny tweak to the existing code, and we apply another Band-Aid to an already over Band-Aided solution, but it is the most cost justifiable solution to satisfying the specific business challenge and need. So just because we like to write code doesn't mean every project should involve writing code. We need to step back, we need to realistically look at the needs, and we need to come up with what the very, very best business justified solution is going to be. With the business case now, I'm assuming fully defined, the solution defined, it's now time to turn to that other side of our cost-benefit equation and to determine what the benefits for this project is going to be. This is where we get that justification. This is where we take the dollars and cents to senior management and say, there, for this cost and these benefits, this project makes sense. And we've already talked in this Nugget series about the difference between the intangible and the tangible benefits, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this again. Is the intangible there are benefits, but I just can't assign a dollar sign. And my famous example, at least in Steve's mind, the famous example of that fuel management system for that marine ferry operation, they knew in their guts, they knew in their hearts that this new solution was going to save them hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars in the inventory costs for carrying fuel, but because they didn't have the facts and figures, they couldn't justify it. They couldn't put it to dollars and cents, but they knew in their hearts, and that was enough to get the project approved. Ideally, we need to focus on tangible benefits. We can reduce inventory by 10%. We can improve purchasing to get discounts by 3%, by volume purchasing, whatever the case is going to be. Or we can reduce staff by 2 heads for an annual savings of. So obviously, we're going to get more ammunition to take to senior management if we can come up with the true tangible benefits. And as we come up with the new tangible benefits, I believe we absolutely need to involve finance. Your organization is going to have standards for financial management and financial analysis, whether it's ROI, return on investment, whether it is NPV, net present value, whether it is a discounted cash flow, whether it is ... any of many other financial analysis methods employed by your finance department in your organization. We need to take these tangible benefits, and we need to take the cost statement for the project itself and extend it over time. If the project is going to take 1.5 years and is going to cost $50,000, we're not going to incur all of that $50,000 on month 1, and we're probably not going to incur all of that $50,000 on month 18. We're going to incur a little bit on every month, and it may be absolutely flat, or there may be peaks and valleys where we have to do purchasings. Again, we need to work with finance to ensure that both our benefit statements and our cost statements are presented in the appropriate fashion, consistent with financial analysis methods in your organization, so that when we present it to senior management to get that approval, it's in a format and a style and a consistency with what they're expecting to see. And finally, I'm going to introduce a Prince2 term. I don't believe this is a real word, but you will see this Prince2 term in Prince2 books, and there is an entire possibility that you will actually see this term in your exam itself. And Prince2 recognizes this thing called disbenefits. All along, we've been focused on what are the benefits. We're going to improve our inventory. We're going to improve our cash flow. We're going to improve our customer service. We're going to improve. But what are the downsides? What's going to happen if we implement this project? Is there going to be staff satisfaction. We all know that humans resist change, or certainly that's my expectation, is humans resist change. We're change resistant people, and therefore, if we introduce this new system, is there going to be staff dissatisfaction? Is there going to be staff turnover? Are we going to have to incur training costs? Are we going to have to? So, are there reasons why we shouldn't do this project? If we implement this new web-based ordering system, are we going to lose customers? Do we have customers who are prone to ordering only through mail order catalogs, and introducing this new web-based solution? Are we going to lose some of our customers? And I'm going to stereotype here in the older age segment who may not be as web and as computer literate as the current generation. So what are the disbenefits? Are there reasons why we should not take on this project? Again, a Prince2 term, but disbenefits, risks, concerns. Are there things we need to take to senior management's attention that could be reasons why this project should not be started? And quickly, are there other considerations that we need to take into account as we're working on our business case? Typically, when we're working on our business case, we're focused on project scope. And when we're doing our costs, when we're doing our risk, when we're doing our timeline, we're focused on those items specifically inside the scope of our project. But are there other costs that are going to be associated with this project, but not directly associated with the project? And the project I'm working on right now is rolling out a very significant change to the way the organization I am involved with, and I don't want to call out names here, delivers their service to the public. So they have put aside $1 million for other costs associated with, and I'm going to say it, marketing, public image, and I'm going to use the word publicity. Not directly related to the project. I, as the project manager, have no visibility into that $1 million. I, the project manager, have no ability to influence, to spend, to tell the business how they're going to spend their money on marketing, the public image, the publicity, but that's an other cost that their senior management needs to be aware of over and above the costs that Steve has put together directly related to developing this new delivery system to the general public. Are there other risks? Will the public accept it? Will the public accept this new solution? They think so, but there's also government concerns. There's regulatory concerns. And again, there's perception. So are there risks associated with the general acceptance of this project that's still not within Steve's scope or ability to influence or control? And what's the impact for the timeline? Can we do it soon enough? And that's certainly a very large concern on this particular project. They have some very stringent timelines put on me for when I can get my project finished, and that is resulting in my project having to make some shortcuts, make some considerations that are being dictated from outside my project, i.e., here's an absolute hard deadline, Steve. If we can't meet this deadline, the whole premise for this project is in question. I.e., if we can't put this together in time to make the annual holiday event sales, whether we're generating candy and we need to have this product in the stores in time to support the Halloween candy sales, or whether we're supporting Christmas sales, but if we can't have this in place in time to support the annual sales event, we've wasted a year. It's another year before we can reap any benefits. So what are the specific external factors that's going to dictate going to involve me working on determining the success of this project. So by now, our business case should be all but complete. I would suggest we need to do a business review plan where we're going to present the business case internally within the business and within our IT community to validate our approach so that we have an absolute squeaky clean business case before we present it to senior management for approval. So this is going to be a formal review and validation, peer review within the business area. And I would suggest we want to do a peer review with supporters. So they're going to help drive up. And we're going to want to do a peer review with non-supporters. I'm not going to say adversaries, because an adversary is probably going to just look for ways to torpedo and sink our project, but we want to have people who aren't as excited about this project as we are to look at it in a realistic, to provide some realism to our review. And we're doing this because we want them to help us validate, and we want their additional insight and review. Does this really make sense? Bring the realism to the viewpoint and hopefully identify additional benefits or potentially identify additional non-benefits. Bring the realism. Again, by the time we've gotten to this benefits review, I would expect we ourselves have gotten so caught up in the excitement of generating this business case that we've convinced ourselves that this is absolutely the best project that our organization could ever want to take on, that we've forgotten to be pragmatic. So we want to bring that realism in, bring the pragmatism into it, get the additional insight and review, look for additional benefits, but look for non-additional benefits so that when we present this to management, it is a complete, reliable, and robust business case. And to draw this discussion on the business case to a close, I want to put the business case work into the overall Prince2 project management lifecycle, recognizing that the business case repeats itself, lives throughout the entire Prince2 cycle. We're going to generate the initial business case and probably at the outline in the startup of the project. And this is where I'm going to validate that you truly remember all of those acronyms. So during project startup or starting up the project, we're going to work with the business and we're going to put that original business case outline together. Again, Steve's term, this is the validation of the eureka moment. We're going to get approval to proceed. We're going to go to our next Prince2 stage, which is initiating the project IP, and we're going to develop the full, complete business case. We're going to present that business case to senior management, and we're going to get approval to truly start the project. We then work on the project. We go stage by stage, and we're going to approve and validate and reapprove the business case in that formal initiation in DP, directing the project. This is where senior management takes the business case from IP and says, yes, this makes 100% sense. And then during delivery, we're going to update the business case on a stage-by-stage basis. And at the stage boundary, so at managing a stage boundary, SB, we're going to revalidate the business case perpetually. The business case lives throughout the entire life cycle. And that's a key distinction that Prince2 really calls forward, is the business case is not a one-time upfront statement to get the project approved. The business case lives throughout the entire project lifecycle and must be maintained through the entire project lifecycle. And that concludes our discussion on the business case. In this nugget, we discussed the business case is the kickstart. It's the foundation for the project. It is why we're doing the project. It is the business need. The business case will be developed in outline form when we initiate the project. It will be fleshed out and defined as we plan the project, and it will be revalidated at every stage in the project to ensure that the business case remains relevant, The business case contains the reasons for the project. The business case contains the way the project is going to be delivered. The business case contains the benefit statement for the project. And the business case contains the cost justification for why the project should be approved, the benefits, the justification for the project. And the key message throughout this entire nugget is that business case has to be owned by the business. It may be partially developed by the team, but it is a business document. It is not a project document. It is not an IT document. This concludes our nugget defining the purpose of the outline of the business case. I hope this module was informative for you, and thank you very much for viewing.